News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth, darkoakmedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian. And not only is it Wondrous Frankenstein Day, i.e. Mary Shelley's birthday, but I want to wish you all a very happy start of the puffling season. Would you care for me to explain?
Hold on. Alan's shaking his head and he knows. I don't know what a puffling is. Is it a bird?
A puffin. A puffin, it's a baby puffin, a puffling.
They get their own. Okay, go ahead, Max.
Well, let me care to explain.
Okay.
It's called, this season is called Throw a Baby Puffin Off a Cliff in Iceland. However, this is more humanitarian than you think, and it's Iceland's fault, and they're trying to redeem themselves. So puffling season is when young Atlantic puffins, known as pufflings, leave the burrows to head to the open sea. And during this time, they're drawn to the light of the town rather than the light of the moon. And so they become trapped and risk starvation. And so Icelandic people known as puffling patrols, I'm going to help collect these disoriented chicks and release them back into the sea to reach their destination, to learn to swim and fly.
It's funny you say that, Max, because it's, okay, well, I mean, I am Icelandic. That's a great one. The pufflings get their own day, but I seem to remember that. And there are puffling, there's when you're in Iceland, when you're 12 years old, you learn to rappel. They teach the rappelling, and these kids are on cliffs and everything with ropes, Allan, and it's all about helping the pufflings, or the puffins. They take their puffins seriously. They don't hunt those guys down. They're cool birds.
Well, what is so unique about their eggs?
They only hatch one a year.
Is that
even
right?
more unique than that?
What's that?
The egg is so sharply designed that it can't roll off the ledge.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, because they're all
They
in
turn in
these
tiny
edges.
little circles. They live on the ledges of cliffs.
Right. Okay, very good.
Now Max dives over and goes, "What? Allan knew something I didn't."
There you go.
Yeah, I wanted to see the puffin egg.
Yes, it's very spindle shaped. It's very fat on one end and very, very sharp on the other, and it just rolls in a tiny little circle.
Well,
It's a
there
little
you
projectile.
So instead of rolling off the cliff and not getting a puffling, ta-da!
Yeah, so the mother puffins, they have it rough coming out with that egg, but it's like
and I'm immediately going to leap on this and say this totally ties in to today's Critter Wars.
How?
I'm going to show you. When we get there, I'm going to show you how Puffling Day is the perfect holiday for today.
Okay, well, it's already starting off with a bang. I mean, we've got Mary Shelley's birthday, and of course,
absolutely,
and it is the last day of National Sandwich Month, and it was totally underwhelming, Max. Hardly anybody except Allan and I weighed in on this.
It's the last day to be celebrated. We still got, a 1 day more to quote Les Miserables.
So it's your last chance to weigh in on all these things. Or if you've ever been to Iceland and observed the puffins, we'd love to hear about that too. But
if you've been part of the puffling patrols.
Exactly. Okay, so hey, Allan, we've got Kurt Weir from Groundworks coming in today. So, folks, if you've got any questions or any concerns about the foundation of your home, this is the day to get in touch. Kurt will have he'll be in here shortly to answer your questions and to talk about the health of your foundation. And in honor of that, Allan, we're revisiting a topic. Gosh, I was looking at our notes. We did this over 3 years ago, so I think it's okay to rehash this a little bit. But we thought, in honor of Kurt, let's go ahead and revisit the most famous foundation repair probably in history, I would have to say, which is saving the Leaning Tower of Pisa, because in the 1990s, there was a real concern that this thing was finally going to topple over. And you talk about a foundation, repair and a foundation issue. I mean, I guess you don't build your tower on a marshland, but anyway.
Well, I mean, let's see, when you're 1,000 years old, if you're not leaning a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's over.
Wasn't there a whole parable about building a tower?
Yeah,
properly?
Exactly. I think we might even get to that, Max. Yeah, we're getting close to the millennial mark. It's 900. It's about 900 years old by now. So, and Allan, in Tool Tales, I have the demolition blues. I texted you some pictures of a project I was working on at my house. Have you ever had a project that you thought was going to take you maybe an hour or two, and it winds up taking the whole day, and you start questioning your life choices and everything else. And
every project
it's
I
annoying.
do, Joe. Every project I do.
It was a brutal way to spend the weekend. So Allan's week in review sounds like it was. We have to get to this, Max, because it sounds like it was partially very good, and part of it was a full on critter wars, right?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
They mounted a counterattack. It was
Okay.
awful.
And we've got more. We're still way overdue on our 30 years of stupid and the harmonious home. One day we're going to get to that. I promise. But there's also a lot more. And of course, we'd love to hear from you at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. But before we get to any of those things, let's get to our must-have item of the week, which I know we've done some of these things. Allan, I'm sure I've brought other variations of this product in, but I guess go ahead and tell everybody what I'm holding up here.
All right. Well, you're actually holding up a little bit of a modern marvel. You're holding up a crack and gap expanding foam.
Right. Now, this one, the reason I brought this one in is it's the high density. It's also got great flexibility in adhesion, and it's got UV resistance. This is sort of this is the one where you pay the extra $2 or $3 and you get the good stuff. But Allan, this can is so much heavier than the other can of comparable size. And is that because, so I guess when they say high density, I'm thinking, okay, the bubbles are probably smaller.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's what we're talking.
Yeah, you are distinctly discussing bubble and gas size.
Okay.
Okay, well let's talk about the aerosol can to begin with. Basically it's a little bomb. You take a metal container and you pump up the pressure in it.
So, in other words, in the movie Jaws, if they had one of these and they shot it in the shark's mouth, it really would have blown up.
No.
Not like an air tank? No,
it'll act just like an air tank. It is basically a little bomb. It is a pressurized canister. However, then we began putting stuff in the canisters, everything from glue to cheese. And,
if you're eating your cheese out of a can, I'm sorry, you are not much of a connoisseur, right? I mean,
no, you are a consumer, not a connoisseur. But
okay,
you know what, Joe? There is a Saturday afternoon in front of the TV with a can of Cheese Whiz where it's all right. That stuff, however, right there solved so many problems we used to solve with asphalt, rags, mud, and any other substance we thought we could gram up in a crack.
Right.
To keep the bugs out, keep the air out. That stuff, on the other hand, it does what it says. It is an elastic polymer that expands due to the gases pumped into the can.
Yeah.
And it solidifies, and it actually is a reaction with water that makes it solidify, not a reaction with air.
Wait a minute. I'm curious about that. What do you mean by that?
It reacts to the humidity in the air. That's
Meaning
what makes
what?
it harden.
Really?
Yes.
Well, the reason I brought this in is partly because I wanted to ask you some questions on the air about this. Because as you know, a few weeks ago, I was talking about this discovery I made under my house of that broken air return vent, and this is what I went for to fix the crack, and because I wanted it fairly watertight and I wanted it to fill up all the dead space. But Allan, this is going to be underground,
right?
I mean, I'm saying underground. It's underground by about 8 inches, but it's still underground. But it's going to be exposed to sand and water, and I'm sure moisture.
Right.
So how many years am I going to get out of this? How long is this stuff going to be here? Am I going to be long gone?
You're not going to worry about it.
Okay, good. Well, that's sort of the point, because I thought.
How old is your youngest child?
In 20s, and so
okay. They might worry about it about the time they're your age.
Okay, because that was my thing. I was like, there's some of it. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting concrete under here. I mean, I have barely any room to get my arm in this thing, and so I just said, well, the expanding foam is good. I can get, and I even cheated and I used your thing of extending the sprayer with that clear tubing that you used before.
Oh, yes.
Brewblaster was asking if this is the stuff that you sometimes see around telephone poles.
Wait, telephone poles. Now, what is that? I don't know what you mean, but where would you put it on a telephone pole?
Well, actually, he is correct. This is an expanding foam that they will use to fill small cracks. because the biggest thing they don't want is water. So, yes, there are purposes for that. There is even a variety of this product now used for setting post.
I know you've been, because you've already been doing that.
You buy 2 bags of that stuff, you mix it up, you dump it in the hole, and it goes like a big old thing of bread. And now you've got a post installed.
Well, that's because they listened to Tool Talk Radio, and they said, okay, we're going to do what Allan does here.
Well, now I have used that to tighten post installations. The post is sound. The post is sound, but somebody backed into it. It moved. It wiggles. It's got some give now. But again, the post is sound.
Okay, and Brew Blaster, this does say UV resistance, flexibility, and great adhesion. So yeah, I think it is. I think he's right. So, all right, very good. So the must-have item of the week: high density expanding foam. All right, well, speaking of high density and explosive action, when we come back, we're going to find out what Allan did this week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Piece of cake.
Oh my God, my car.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
I don't know what I just heard. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass, who is snickering about something. I don't know. Max, is this something you need to discuss with us, or is it just...
No, just the whole puffling season still got me in a chuckle. And I was also recalling Pearl the chicken.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so, today is National Puffling Day.
Season. We're at the start of
it's
puffling
a whole season, Joe.
Oh, good. Okay, well, they deserve it. They're cool birds, and I'm glad that the Icelandic people take care of their puffers. Also, today is Mary Shelley's birthday, which, it's funny when you read the book Frankenstein, Allan, is much different than the movies that we've seen. And, it might be surprising to somebody when they pick up the book and read and go, wow, this doesn't seem anything like the Universal Monsters movies or anything.
Although I am curious about this new Del Toro film, like how faithful an adaptation it's going to be.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty good. It's supposed to be pretty close.
Looks cool. So a lot on the table, but let's get to it. Oh, I didn't give you much warning. Let's get to it, Max. There we go.
You said Critter Wars, not Allan's Week in Review.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's both, right, Allan? I mean,
it is.
There's an element of Critter. Well, do you want to start with the good, the bad, or the ugly?
Oh, we're going to go right to the ugly.
Talk to me. Okay. Well, what did you do this week, sir?
Okay. Well, doing a variety of activities, especially in our business, Joe, occasionally there's a spark.
You mean like something gets ignited?
Grinding something,
right.
Somebody does something, but it really doesn't matter what the source of that spark is.
Mm-hmm.
It is merely the fact that spark exists.
Right.
Oh, a deep breath and a quiet moment of reflection as I go. And here we go.
Let's hear it.
All right. Do you have an outbuilding? Do you have a doghouse? Do you have anything in your yard that something can get under?
Oh, very good question.
Because if you do, there is a very good chance that your eaves, your gutters, your doghouse, your shed, anything like that is stuffed full of dried leaves, pine needles, something's nest.
Right. Which are kind of flammable, aren't
and all they're waiting for is that one proverbial spark. And the next thing you know, you got smoke coming out from underneath an outbuilding, and you're going to spend several hours of your life digging a hole under the outbuilding to get to the ensuing fire before you burn down the entire storage system.
Holy smokes, man.
Oh, my goodness, yes. So, and it's that. And I'm just going to tell people go, oh, that would never happen to me. I have a border around the bottom of my. Yeah, this had a border too. This was that 1 in a billion spark as 2 tools connected with a piece of unseen concrete that flipped the one spark perfectly into that hairline crack between the two and into the armadillo nest.
Okay, I can't say I've ever seen an armadillo nest that I know of. That seems like it would have to be pretty big.
Well, it was a large outbuilding, but apparently the armadillo in question here, because I know it lives there because we've seen the babies around the building.
Oh,
And the little dig under where they got under.
Were there fatalities here, Alan?
No, there were no fatalities.
Okay.
Nobody was home,
Oh,
but
good.
the old nest was still there, and apparently they had an affection, a really big affection for pine needles.
I didn't even know we had armadillos here. Like, are they a forest creature?
Have you ever looked at the side of the road, Max? I mean, they're belly
I might
up
also be
all
blank.
over the.
I'm also be blanking because I haven't had my coffee yet.
Yeah, okay. Well,
you've seen them, Max, whether you know it or not. They're
it's
always,
that possum on a half shell. It's that
Right.
little armored tank that doesn't know to get out of the traffic.
But you probably haven't seen them in your yard because
You probably haven't had live ones,
Yeah.
you know. And I will say, of course, every spring we've been working on this property for a while. And, the baby armadillos come out and everybody thinks they're hilarious because they're not afraid of you yet. They haven't seen people yet. And, they'll walk right up to you and snuffle around you. And look
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
And
that
they're
I've had
just
that.
absolutely adorable when they're little because they look sort of like, Mickey Mouse wearing armor. Little round ears, cute
I mean,
little
armadillos
face.
are cool looking anyway. I have nothing against them. I mean, I don't,
Well,
whatever,
other than they can, totally rototill your yard in a matter of minutes.
Right.
And apparently, and I'm bringing this up because just walking around buildings, you'll see a dove nest,
yeah.
back up in behind the gutter. The little part where the gutter comes down. Suddenly there's this huge wad of sticks up there of every mouse, every chipmunk, every critter that can be around your home has stuffed something you don't want to explode full of tinder. So I'm throwing out from personal experience this week. Now that it's gotten cool, now that the fall season is here and baby season is over, you really need to look around your property and see if anybody has nested somewhere, because the minute this stuff catches spark, you're going to lose something.
It's interesting you say that, Alan, because when you're talking about this, like for example, okay, I have a grinder in my garage.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, well, when you're using a grinder, you're very conscientious. You're like, obviously, I'm not going to get anywhere near the gas can. I'm gonna
Right.
Okay, but a hammer, a sledgehammer, side swiping a piece of concrete will make sparks.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, stone. Now that I'm thinking of it, in Cub Scouts, we learned to make fires with a piece of metal and a piece of flint or a piece of stone, and it makes sparks. So,
Oh, yeah.
it's the stuff you don't think. You're like, how is a piece of concrete going to start a fire? But
Well, think
there
about
you go.
your lawnmower blade being able to fire a stone at the rate of a .22 bullet.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You know,
and,
so-
and if it hits a stone, that could be hot and sparky. Yeah.
So I'm just pointing out that while it's not a common occurrence, it can happen. And a spark can come from anything. And I'm really driving this home because in the next few weeks, we're going to get back on my soapbox about barbecue grills and fire pits.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's about that season again. And now we're really going to be able to put out some kind of sparks and stuff like that. Now, I don't know why this year is so well, I know why it's in my face because it's already happened once. But, it's been dry. We had a just tremendous heat span. And whatever somebody built a nest out of, it has dried out.
Well, it's the end of August. It's going to dry. Yeah. So, and like you say, we're now getting to the point where the leaves are going to start dying and
The leaves are
everything's gonna
piling
become
up and everything.
flammable.
So I'm going to be Captain Safety here for a little bit and go, all right, you need to take a look. And if, that big wasp nest that's died off, get it down because that's made out of paper.
Yeah.
They burn really well, actually. But I'm really concerned more about it's time to go look at the grill. It's time to go look at the fire pit. It's time to go look at the environment around it and make sure that you don't have something's nest to unexpectedly burst into flames when you least expect it.
There you go.
Because it will.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And if you see some sort of random smoke, I guess, don't just ignore it and go, well, that'll go away.
Do not ever kind of go, what's that over there? It react immediately.
Yeah.
So, and I also tell everybody, if you're going to have a fire pit, make sure you got a bucket of water or something somewhere close.
Sure. Yeah, no kidding. Or a hose or something. Yeah.
Well, you don't necessarily want the hose laying out there in the middle of everybody trying to roast marshmallows. But, I would discreetly have, 5 gallons of water somewhere close, probably even with a rag or washcloth in it, because I find that a wet rag or a wet towel just flung over something puts out almost anything.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, how's a fire going to burn with a wet towel over it?
Just pointing out that, we're about to get into that season, but I've now had a shocking, realization that even though it's got a border on it, even though there's that 1 in a million chance, that 1 in a million. So, I've had mine. So I'm booked up for the rest of the year here. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, you've had your fill. So, hey, Allan, when we come back though, you did some high stakes cutting.
Boy, yes.
And it's interesting. It's one of those things where I was looking at the pictures that you sent me, and I was like, it's more. It kind of reinforces the whole idea about doing carpentry work. A lot of times, it's the 90% of that is just the will to do it,
and a lot of
keeping
measuring.
your nerves
while
you're doing it. So we're gonna talk about that. Allan had a very, like I said, high stakes cutting situation, and we'll talk about that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Take a walnut and rub it into the legs of your table. That'll mask the scratches. Next thing you want to do is ditch the terrier and get yourself a proper dog. Any dog under 50 pounds is a cat, and cats are pointless.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Okay. I like cats, so buzz off, Ron Swanson. But anyway, and we'll come back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. There's a lot on the table today. Today is Mary Shelley's birthday, and so if you've had any happy memories of reading Frankenstein or watching the Frankenstein movies, we'd love to hear about it. I always like that one with Abbott and Costello where all the monsters are there. That's a pretty good one, Allan. Today is National Puffling Day, which will grow up to become... Seasoned, which will grow up to become puffins. And if you ever go to Iceland, that's sort of a must thing. You go to those cliffs and everybody is watching puffins, and they're cool birds, but anyway, they get their own holiday. And we're in the middle of finding out what Allan did this week, and we're going to return to that in just a moment. But before we do, let's talk about our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling, because for one thing, Jay is all about the exterior protection of your home. From roofing to gutters to siding to windows, and don't underestimate the critter protection value of the work that Jay does. Allan, I had squirrel problems for years before Jay replaced my roof, and the problem ended immediately. It fixed it, so you're creating a solid perimeter around your home of protection, but it also is all about protecting from the moisture and water and everything. But also, these are all systems that work together, and they make your home run more efficiently. The GAF master, Jay is a GAF Master Elite installer, and these roofing systems are so energy efficient that you're actually going to notice it on your utility bill that it's going to be lowered. But also, what sets Jay apart is, for one thing, he's one of the top-rated roofers in the entire region. He's always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. And also, Jay is a former insurance agent, which is hugely helpful because if you have any damage to your home that may be covered by your homeowner's insurance, or maybe you're not sure, Jay should be the first person you call, and we're not kidding about that. Call Jay. He's going to come out. He's going to give you a free consultation. He's going to look over the damage with you. And if there is a path forward to make a homeowner's claim, Jay can help you with that entire process. And we also love Jay because he brings a real energy and optimism to every job that he's a part of. And he keeps his overhead low. His prices are very competitive because he does keep a low overhead. He runs he He runs a lean operation, and he always encourages you to call him directly, which is a cool thing. So when you're working with Big M Roofing and Remodeling, you're working directly with Jay Hill, the owner himself. So give Jay a call. You can reach him at 901-484-5645 or go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. Well, Allan, before the break, I mentioned that you did some high stakes cutting this week.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's like it's all well and good to, carpentry, like we said, is partly just having the will to do it. Some of this, I mean, I was looking at this countertop you were cutting, and I'm like,
yeah.
Boy, don't mess that up. It would be an expensive day if you cut it wrong, basically.
About 400 pounds, about 8 feet long, 3.5 feet wide. And they want to drop a custom commercial sink into it.
Okay.
Now, this is of butcher block acacia.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this is...
I love the butcher block counters. I'm really a fan.
Yeah, but this is acacia butcher block. So let's take butcher block and let's give it an attitude and firm it up about 3 more notches.
Yeah.
This stuff is hard.
If I'm correct, isn't it like 1 5/8 or 1 3/4 inches thick too? So it's even thicker than normal, right? Or
this one is 2.5 inches thick. Oh yeah, we're looking at this.
Okay, have fun with that.
We're looking at this. I'm like, oh my gosh. You know what? And this is where I had to go back in time. And before I did the job, I went home, found the box that has those tools in it. You know, the ones
you use once every 20 years.
The ones with cords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You needed that torque,
It's
Allan.
like, all right, I had 28 years ago, I had a semi-professional saber saw.
Huh, really?
Not a jigsaw, a saber saw.
Describe that for
It's
listeners.
a jigsaw.
Okay,
it's a big jigsaw that uses a longer blade.
Wait a minute.
It was for cutting thicker wood.
But it's a handsaw.
It looks just like a jigsaw, except back then this was the saber saw, and it had the longer blades on it, so we could cut the thicker materials. So I still have one. I still got one of these babies. I still got the blades for it. So I broke him out. I mean, this poor thing's coughing and gagging at me like, hey, I thought it was dead. So we measured about 8 times.
Yeah, no kidding.
We set
because this has to fit right over the opening where the sink's going to go.
There's about 1/8 of an inch tolerance.
Really?
On how it drops in, because it's really designed. The sink is really designed for stone.
Okay. Yeah.
So it has these lovely little lips that hang down underneath it so that you can secure it with clips to the stone. So, you really have got to get those clips right next to the wood, because the clips also have a hole in it. And as thick as this wood is, to secure the sink down, all I got to do is put a screw in it.
Right.
But you talk about getting this baby measured and laid out and measured, and then you got to look at the counters underneath. You got to see where your cuts are going to go. You've got to know everything before you break out that whole saw or that auger and you put that first hole in that first corner.
See, this is another reason I'm a fan of top-mounted sinks rather than the undermount. Because if this was an undermount, forget it.
I wouldn't have done it.
Every edge has to be perfect. At least this way, you've got a little bit of room.
Undermount has become a trigger word for me these days.
Well, no offense, but as the food dude, I will tell you, undermounts are just nasty.
And Allan, can I just take this opportunity, since you're the one dealing with this, but I just want to say, this is a reminder, folks, that everything about what you're talking about here, because you could have used a circular saw. You could have used, but
I could have plunged a circle saw.
But the thing is, people may not realize even a blade on a circular saw can bend if it has enough torque to it.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of when you go and you cut it, and then you go and look back, and you're like, why is there a 5-degree angle on this? Because it's a lot of stress on the blade, and if it could, so. Yeah, I don't envy this at all, man. So
we got it laid out. And then we started over. Went and got a piece of paper and laid it out according exactly to the dimensions. And I cut the piece of paper to exactly the size of the retaining clips.
Okay.
So once that was on there, we got that lined up, got it all nice and perfect, drew a nice little pencil line around it. And then everybody just held their breath when I went and got the, here's the drill. Here's the thing that's going to put the first hole in it.
Right.
And the one thing I had to explain to somebody was, all right, cute little jigsaws can turn and make corners and stuff like that. Saber saws, not so much.
No, they don't want to turn.
They don't really want to turn. So what I got to do is I got to put a hole in each corner that I'm going to cut to. And, of course, just drilling the hole straight through, you're only going through that 2-inch single piece of wood,
right.
I thought. Because this thing is so thick, it's laid out like plywood.
Right.
You got a layer that goes lengthwise, you got a layer that goes crosswise, and you got a layer that goes lengthwise again on top of it. So now you're basically cross-cutting 3 layers of hard acacia wood no matter what direction you're going.
Because acacia wood is a nice wood, but yeah, like you said, now you're adding the density and everything.
Well, now you're adding the density, and some of it's being linear cut, and some of it's being cross cut.
To me, though, that might make it more honest. Like, it's like, okay, it's not going to push the blade one way or another.
No, it is honest because it's just a flaming pain every inch you go. So we got this baby fired up, and I mean, we start, and here we go, and all of a sudden everybody realizes, we might as well go do something else for a while. Because Allan's going to be here for like an hour.
Yeah, you don't rush through a cut
and,
like this.
of course, I got my little side bracing over here to keep me perfectly on line. And we get, now let's fast forward 45 minutes. We get to the end. And I cheated, of course, because I don't want things falling.
Right. Yeah.
So,
you don't want this last cut.
I don't want things. So underneath the sink, what nobody sees is there are 2 empty sheetrock mud canisters
propped up,
and a couple of 2x4s on that, so that this thing would not drop.
That's
and
smart.
It could only move like 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
So we get all the way to the final cut, and I think I've got it. So I'm down underneath there, and I'm trying to push this thing out, right? And we're putting in a double compartment commercial sink. So this is not a small cut.
No, this is a huge.
This is huge.
And this thing would weigh a lot.
This is 37.5 inches wide, just to give you the idea. And, of course, the piece we're trying to lift out is pretty heavy, but it won't go. Because somewhere in that corner, I left like 1 grain of wood.
I was about to say you left something. You didn't? Okay.
So 3 tries later, it popped out, and now somebody's got a great cutting board.
Hey, he made it, though. Yeah, and you got an extra scrap piece for a cut. So, okay. So all's well that ends well. Well, Allan, I guess everything ended well for me, but when we come back, we have a tool tale because I have the demolition blues.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I thought I told you. I do the cutting around here.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And at the top of the hour, we're going to have our buddy Kurt Weir from Groundworks coming in. So if you have any questions about the foundation of your home or the health and safety of the foundation of your home, it's an important, it's foundational. You need that. You need a healthy foundation. So this is the day to get in touch. And in honor of having Kurt in the house, Allan, we're going to, in our Great Moments in Building History, this is going to be fun. He's going to join us for a conversation about really, has to be the most famous foundation repair in history, which was basically saving the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Because back in the 90s, they thought this thing was going over. It was getting serious.
It was.
I'm amazed it made it as long as it did.
It was going to be the leaning. It was going to be the laying Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna get to that. That's gonna be a lot of fun in the next hour. But before we get to that, I have something to talk about.
And now, Tool Tales with Tool Talk Radio.
I guess I'm calling it a tool tale for lack of a better term. But Allan, I guess I've mentioned that we're undergoing a renovation at our house, which necessitated taking out. I basically had to remove a 16-foot run of ceiling in my living room so I could expose a duct. I was basically removing an old duct that's obsolete, and we're going to put a new one in. Okay. If you were now not counting Allan, so here's the thing. So my wife is like, she's like, so how are we covering up everything? I said,
is this a tool tale or 40 years of stupid?
Well, that's what I'm trying to be. It's one of those projects that evolves throughout the day, and you're just like, how did I get myself into this? But here's the thing. So I'm going to ask the listeners too. If somebody said, okay, I need you to remove a 16-foot section of your ceiling, and it's a straight run. I mean, it is literally just 16 foot straight across. It's 16 inches wide. And how long do you think that's going to take? Not counting covering your furniture with plastic and the setup and everything.
Now, am I at home or am I bidding this job?
Well,
because if I'm bidding this job, I'm going to bid this baby out for 2 people in about 8 hours.
Okay, see.
For me at home, just goofing around, I'm going to think to myself, I can knock that out in an hour.
That's what I thought. I'll give myself 2 hours. I had plans. I was like, okay, I was going to meet somebody out.
Yeah, okay.
So much for that. But Allan, so it's overhead, and it's an 8-foot ceiling. It's not like I'm up on any extended. And Allan,
You're
was
not
up there
on scaffolding or anything like that. Got it.
I was up there for 2 hours. I mean, no, I'm sorry. I was up there for 7 hours, and I was exhausted by the end of this thing. So here's what's in, folks. I've told you that my house was built in 1952. Which I guess is relevant because there's some, they didn't build things the way they do. You know? Allan, I was expecting to just bang holes in the ceiling.
Nope.
Rip the sheetrock out, cut the opening clean. And what I had is I have some extra wide masking tape so I could cover the edges so it's not going to drop little pieces of sheetrock when I'm done. Well, Allan,
it wasn't sheetrock, was it?
No, it's for lack of a better term. It seems to me what I've got in my ceiling is it's like a thin layer of concrete over some of that wire mesh where if you cut yourself, it's like a razor blade.
Oh yeah.
This was the most miserable job I ever did. It was like, because you're swinging overhead and you got to do it at an angle because you don't want your face right underneath. So you're so you get a good tricep workout.
Oh, yeah.
And a shoulder workout, but it was brutal. And my wife, it's funny how my wife has become, ever since I bought her that Sawzall, or the reciprocating, she's all about going nuclear. She's like, why don't you get a saw or a sledgehammer? Or she was ready to, and I'm like, okay, are you going to clean the mess up of, because my thinking is, Allan, it was a balance of, okay, the mess that you're going to clean up versus black, because what I was doing is I was banging holes in it. Then I would pry away the stuff. Then I would take wire cutters and snip away. So it was a hassle, but it wasn't making a giant mess. She was like, just get in. And I'm like, okay, but blades can snag in that metal and sparks can fly. And then we have little shards of metal flying everywhere and landing in place, maybe my eyes or something. So, but it's interesting that her instinct is to just go nuclear. But I'm okay. And then after about 3 hours, I was starting to go, okay, maybe she's got a point. Maybe I just need to do this. But have you ever gotten on a project where you've sort of gotten into it and I'm like, okay, there's no way I want to clean up and then pick this up next week. You just got to get it done and you power through it. But it was awful. And then I'm starting to get tired. I mean, I got to be honest. It was pretty exhausting work. So,
well, anytime you're working above your head, and for the average homeowner, you don't do a lot above your head.
No, but you notice it when you do.
If you ever want an experiment, here's a fun one. Go to your kitchen and get your biggest, not sharp kitchen spoon, tool, or whatever. Now, I want you to hold it out in your arm, in front of you, parallel to the floor.
Right.
And I want to see how long you can hold it. Yeah. And everybody goes, oh, well, that's easy. You know what? That first 60 seconds is great.
Yeah,
About minute number 3, you're going to feel like an elephant is sitting in your hand.
Oh, yeah.
And the more you work above your head, the less blood your arms are getting.
Just ask Moses about that during that great battle, right? They had to have him hold his arms up. So
that kind of makes me think of one of my law enforcement buddies was saying, if you ever want to train before you go into the academy, one of the best things you can do is to hold your firearm just straight like this for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Like that is that requires a great deal of intensity, just holding something straight. But I was going to say, I'm not sure if I'm jumping the gun here and kind of getting to the end of the story so soon, but I think one of the best consequences of what you did, Joe, is the video that you sent me of your cat.
Oh, yeah. Well, my cat loves it because he found a way to jump up there and there's an opening.
And get in the vent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got like a whole new headquarters up there. Maybe I'll post the video of that because that's pretty harmless. But Allan, I mean, it's one of those things where and folks, and that's why I would say have some compassion for your contractors, because sometimes you may say, well, can you give me an estimate on this? Well, you have to give usually the best and worst case scenario. And like you said.
Knowing your house, I would have already suspected the wire mesh, because knowing the age of your house and knowing that strip, we probably would have done it by, plastic wrapping the room and then meeting somewhere between you and your wife. Because we'd have definitely gone in and cut that mess out.
Well, the thing is, though, Allan, I've used that stuff, and that dust will get everywhere. And if you don't,
you got to spray. You got to make it wet. Yeah.
And if you don't hermetically seal that, that dust is insidious. And
yes.
I'm like, okay,
you got to use a respirator. Yes.
So the cleanup actually was the easiest part of the whole thing. So I feel like I was sort of justified, but it was brutal, man. Overhead work. That's why I hate working on cars. Or you're always working at weird angles, and you're, especially if you're under the car or something. So,
hey, I could sympathize with that when I had to remove the radiator.
Yeah, exactly. So, but all's well that ends well. But I've got more demo to do. But I was also glad I tackled the worst of it first. Like, this is the worst part of this project that I got done, and there's something to be, I don't know, sometimes I like to do, if I have a project like this, I sometimes like to do the easiest part first, just to warm up, but this one, it was just
I always head straight for the absolute worst part of the job and get it over with. That way it's downhill all the way.
That's true, yeah.
Kind of makes me think of a great quote, and I shared this with you guys off the air. A boxer once said, "Personally, adversity makes me hungrier. I thrive on being able to make a way out of no way."
There you go. Okay, well, I'm going to have to keep that in mind, Max, because I got more demo to do this weekend. So, but anyway, all right. Well, that was my tale of woe. But it's like I said, all's well that ends well, and nobody died, and nobody was injured.
And the cat is happy,
and the cat's loving his new headquarters. All right. Well, hour one of Tool Talk Radio is in the can. But when we come back, we're going to visit with our friend Kurt Weir from Groundworks.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, and our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, our buddy Kurt Weir from Groundworks is here. And Kurt, good to have you in the show, back on the show, man.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, Kurt, you've got an announcement. Let's just do it right now, man. You've
right
got news, right?
Right out of the gate. Yeah, we're having a grand opening at our location in South Haven coming up September 17th at noon. They'll have some giveaways, and the owner of the company, Matt Malone, will be there. And it's weird. We're on a rocket, and it's pretty exciting.
So like a ribbon cutting party, something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think every person that shows up gets a $100 bill.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Matt, we got laws here. Can we? You're joking, right? Okay,
I am
we don't want to get sued.
Yeah,
so.
that is 100%.
No. Okay. But what will people get? Because I think it's worth. It's fun. It's out there on 1160 East State Line Road in South Haven, right? So
right.
How far off the freeway is that? Like
it is literally about maybe a mile from 55 or a mile and a half.
Just head over towards the wall.
It is really simple to find it.
Yeah. State Line Roads, you can't miss it, really. I mean, it's at the state line, like we said.
It is. So.
But the owner, huh? So, and Matt Malone, when did he start Groundworks?
About 10 years ago. The thing that intrigued me about this was I saw a podcast or listened to a podcast with him and Mike Rowe. Everybody in your show should know who Mike Rowe is because we all have dirty jobs, right?
Right.
So that was very intriguing to hear him talk about how he got this started. And, man, we're on a rocket right now. We've got 75 or 80 branches right now. And in the next 3 to 5 years, they want to double that.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
It is amazing.
Well, you think of it, Allan, I mean, every house has a foundation, and I don't see AI taking over this job anytime soon, right?
No, not this week.
No.
It makes sense. So, but we're talking aggressive expansion.
Very aggressive. Yeah, I mean, think about that. In the next 3 to 5 years, doubling what you've got all across the country. It is, it's amazing. And right now, to my knowledge, and I'm sure there's a whole lot that I don't know, but the closest that I'm aware of is Little Rock and Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay, that's pretty exciting. I didn't realize it was taken off like that. So, but you must be doing something right over there then. So, I mean,
I think we are, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of it, and being in the industry for a while myself. There's some growing pains there for sure. The good thing that I like about what I've seen so far is if something's wrong, we're going to fix it. If we do something wrong, and that does happen. You guys are in that business. You know that you have to do some stuff in a person's house, and maybe somebody leaves something a little undone or whatever. But what I've noticed is they button it up. It's awesome. It's really nice.
Well, exactly. And I mean, we talk about it. There's the foundation of your home. The problems don't fix themselves, and you have to have a healthy foundation, or everything else is sort of it's secondary there. But Kurt, gosh, this is really interesting. Now I'm just thinking about this whole doubling of the business and everything.
Well, when talking about that, let's lay out exactly what is Groundworks. Why and when should somebody call you?
Well, a lot of times the commercials and stuff that we have out there, or Facebook, or Instagram, all these different mediums that we have, it's, a lot of times it's a popping noise, doors sticking, musty smells, outside with your concrete, tripping hazards, things like that. So, and it's a lot of stuff. I've heard a lot of people say, well, that's normal settling to my house. And I was like, no, there's no such thing as normal, but there's very common settling.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to cue in on, I think one of the things people gloss over, and is that uneven concrete, the tripping hazard. I really want to slam the car door hard on that one, because so many people have that. We've got a number of places around town, especially in the Midtown area, where the house is kind of on a little bit of a hill, the yard is a little bit of a slope, and there's all these steps that over the decades, and I mean, some of these houses have been there since a couple of centuries ago. Some in Victorian Village back as far as 1860. But people don't understand that dirt moves. People don't understand. I mean, it doesn't move like water. You hope not. But dirt moves. Things shift. And you should not have to remember, oh, yes, step number 3 wants to throw me to the ground. And that is just a huge point to me, because I see it so commonly. And all they got to do is pick up the phone and give you a call.
Right. And that's funny you say it that way, that I say that to probably 75% of my customers that I talk about. I didn't realize the ground moved.
Yeah.
Because it never affected a house that I lived or anything, but, or the moisture under a house. And I usually use an example like, have you ever sat in the grass and got your butt wet when there was no rain?
Right.
Well, it's, those kinds of things that a lot of people just don't know. I always say you only know what you know.
Right.
So, especially with concrete, everywhere I go, I look for tripping hazards. I did it when I got out of my truck here. Just look to see Does the sidewalk need to be lifted and leveled and sealed and things like that? The joints sealed. But that's extremely common. Uneven concrete almost everywhere you go.
The other thing though, Kurt, you told us last time you were in here something I was actually surprised to learn. You said that in the Mid-South, the majority of our foundations are really just they're crawl spaces, right? Which is a whole different issue there.
The older ones, especially, the newer trend now is more slabs. And we repair slabs too. And especially on south of here, where we're sitting right now, you get into Mississippi along the Delta, and Arkansas on my side of the river over there, the Delta, that ground over there is horrible. Yeah. I had to think of a nice word to say there on the radio.
You mean like marshy and soft?
Well, it's soft, gumbo, and a lot of people don't realize that was an education for me too, is that I didn't know. I thought the ground would move more when it was wet. It moves more when it's dry. I mean, once again, I didn't.
Wait a minute. Now that's interesting. I think I can guess why, but go ahead, Allan.
Well, being from West Texas.
Here we go.
There we go.
You're from West Texas, Allan? We didn't know that. Okay.
I spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
I was born in Houston. Spent a lot of time in the Amarillo area, and you learn in the eastern part of the state, you learn the word saturation.
Yeah.
Ground saturation, gumbo, rivers, green. You learn everything about water. On the west side of Texas, you learn everything about the lack of water. And the number one thing that happens there is you go have your house, the lovely slab is poured in the springtime when you've had a little winter rain and the soil is nice and hydrated. Well, somewhere around September, you walk out and look down at the foundation of your house, and there is about a 3-inch gap between the foundation and the dirt because it has desiccated, it has dried out, it is dehydrated to the point that it is moving away from your foundation.
It makes sense, Kurt, because you think of a sponge. If it's a soaking wet sponge, and then it puffs out, and then when you squeeze it and it's dried, it shrinks a lot.
That surprised me. It really did when I learned that, because especially the sponge example that you're using there, that it just, I don't know, it surprised me. I would think the more water, the more movement, because it's expanding.
Right.
But that's not the case. That with foundations, typically, now they can move when it's wet too. Don't get me wrong there. We bank on it. That those things happen, but it's amazing to me the fluctuation in the earth, because all the ground I walk on is pretty solid, right?
It's really interesting. And the other thing about crawl space, because this is another thing you guys taught me, is it's funny because, we know in an attic you need air movement. You need that. You don't want it to stagnate. You need ventilation and everything. So I just assumed a crawl space is the same thing, but you actually taught us, no, that's not. There's a big difference between, you go up 20 feet to the roof and then going down to the crawl space.
Yeah, the crawl space, sometimes the ventilation works like a champ, but your house could be your house could be perfect, and your neighbor that's 20 feet from you, that crawl space could be just a mess from moisture. And
so your solutions are more containment, right? Or like creating your own environment, so closing it up. See, I would have never. A lot of this stuff, you just, I don't know. It's counterintuitive to me. Like you said, the whole thing of that, the dry ground is actually the bigger, where it's shrinking and settling and everything. So,
all right, to give you kind of an example, one of the facilities I worked at years ago, brand new. We'll talk about its sealing when we come back.
Okay, there you go. So, all right, well, we're visiting with our buddy Kurt Weir from Groundwork. So get in touch with us if you've got any questions about the foundation of your home.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Ron, what was wrong with that one?
It was too perfect. It looked machine-made.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. Our pal Max over there behind the glass. And in the house, our friend Kurt Weir from Groundworks. And wait, Kurt, what is your title at Groundworks?
I am a certified field inspector.
There
CFI.
you go. Oh, so you get to do all. So you're the one that has to go under the house.
I'm the gopher. That's
okay.
Right.
Hey, well,
you've been the mold to most people, I guess.
You've been there, done that. And if you're just tuning in, you should know that if you on September 17th, if you want to head over to what are the hours? I don't think we gave the
Actually,
hours.
It's I didn't clarify that, but what it shows is 12 to 1.
12
so it's
to
a very
1.
short. I guess that's just the pomp and circumstance part from 12 to 1, but we will probably be there all morning and for a little bit afterwards too, especially with the owner coming in.
So it's a grand opening, ribbon cutting, and kind of a party over at the Groundworks facility. So it's 1160 East State Line Road. It couldn't be easier to find. Just go to State Line and head south, right? I mean, wait, is that south or west?
Head towards the airport.
Head towards the airport, and then no.
South Haven.
It's between Getwell and 55 on State Line Road.
I was thinking it was heading towards the river. Okay, never mind. Just forget what I said. But just you'll find it. It's not that hard to find.
That's why GPS was invented.
Exactly. So hey, and Kurt, we were talking off the air. I just want to ask you this because I said, hey Kurt, now if you were building a house yourself, what would your go-to foundation be like in terms of maintenance, and what would you prefer?
Yeah,
and I was a little surprised by your answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd still like crawl spaces. I mean, even though that's about probably half of our work, honestly, is crawl space work, because a lot of houses they're just built, and our videos talk about, built with 1950s technology and things like that, low to the ground.
Right.
And that's the recipe for disasters when they're low to the ground. And if I built a brand new house, I'd probably put it 4 feet off the ground or something like that with a crawl space, because you can get to plumbing, you can get to ductwork and stuff like that. Well, I'd probably put the ductwork in the attic anyway, but.
So you like because there's a crawl space, there's the claustrophobic where it's 12 inches off but then there's, like you said, you could actually crawl into it. So
right.
3-4 feet.
Yeah.
Something
if it's
like
hands
that.
and knees, I mean, that's not a big deal. If you can go hands and knees through a crawl space, that's I love those kind.
And I guess you can. What does that do? Because there's a big difference between a 4-foot space and then like a 12. Is it give you just a little bit more? I don't know what. Is it help you control the humidity or just?
That's what it is. When your house or your floor joist or your wood is only 18 inches at the most off the ground, all the moisture that's pumping out of the ground, all the moisture that's coming through the vents, has nowhere to go but right on that organic material. There's where the mold, normal moisture in wood should be around 12%.
Right.
12 to 20 is where mold develops, 20%. And then over 20 is where mold starts to break the wood down. And especially in the South, in the summer, man, I peg that meter out a lot when I stick it in the wood. And those are the pictures, you show the homeowner, say, look, because most homeowners, we're talking literally 95 to 98% of homeowners don't have a clue what's going on or what the problem is.
No, you don't. And it's just stuff that if you don't do this for a living, you don't think about it. So.
Well, that ties into what I was alluding to last segment was the control of moisture gets surprising. I've had a number of clients over the years have called me and said, why is my ceiling growing mold?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, well, 1, you didn't put any microban in your paint. 2, it's hot and moist up there. So we need to correct this. And they're, when they start looking at these vaulted things, there's a certain way to build them so you have the proper airflow. That doesn't happen.
Right.
But if the airflow is not proper, now I know we're talking about Groundworks, but I'm using this as a very visible example because I just looked at one a couple of weeks ago where it's a 9-foot ceiling, and the ceiling in the bathroom, ta-da, has got spider mildew lines. So now all that's going to have to be cleaned, but that doesn't address the actual issue, which is the fact that they have a ventilation fan in the bathroom. They just never bothered to hook it up.
Oh.
And I'm just kind of like, all right, it's not a good luck charm. You got to turn these things on. So when we begin talking about your crawl space, that's exactly what we're talking about, is just like that bathroom, it's trapped air.
Right.
And the other thing people don't realize, where does that air go?
Yeah.
I was hoping that we could kind of get to that.
I'm gonna kick that door open for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So a lot of the pest control companies will put fans in there. Well, so my rebuttal to that is, okay, in the middle of the summer in the South, and you got fans pushing and pulling. What are they pulling from the outside to throw under your house? More hot, damp air.
Yeah.
So that's not solving it. It's moving the air. Is it helping? Maybe some, but not a lot. And if you've got a problem, then you got to take care of the problem. And what I usually ask customers is, do anybody that lives in the house have asthma or allergies? And the answer is a great deal of the time, yes. And I said, are you aware that half the air you breathe in your house comes from under your house when you have a crawl space?
Oh, wow.
And
Isn't
most
that
people don't
something?
have a clue.
Yeah. You wouldn't think about it. Yeah.
No,
And I mean,
yeah.
And if it's if you have damp, if you have that musty smell, think of the particulates, or just think of what you're actually breathing in. So it's like,
Well, that's in our videos. It shows nice little mold spores floating through the air and stuff. It's not really a scare tactic. It's an informational thing, but it's still, I mean, you can put all the fancy filters you want, HEPA filters, all these things in your house, but if it just keeps grabbing that air from the crawl space, half that air. So.
Well, Kurt, we've talked about that in the past too. It's like, okay, our bodies are designed. You're supposed to eat healthy, drink healthy, have water. Drink lots of water, but also you need to breathe healthy air.
Right.
And if you're breathing, mold spores and things like that every day, there's going to be an accumulative effect. And on the flip side, when you clean that up, there's going to be a positive effect as well. So.
Well, Allan just mentioned too that that air, when people really freak out when they see mold in their bathroom or in their closet, on their shoes, things that they don't touch that often. And there's mold. Well, when you show them pictures from underneath their house, they're like, what?
Right.
That's under my, that's right. Literally 2 inches under your feet.
Well, that's another reason, every week we talk about you guys come out, you give a comprehensive inspection. It's kind of like a health check for your home, because you might have foundation problems that have nothing to do with your house, collapsing but it has to do with healthy air and healthy moisture control. So can you tell us about that inspection process, like when people call you up and you come on out? So.
Sure. Yeah, it depends on what it is. Crawl space, we'll just use crawl space. That's what we're talking about. So, we come in, we usually ask a lot of questions up front, tell them exactly how we're going to do it. We're going to go through and do a thorough inspection, take pictures and all these things. But we'll ask them questions. What do you know is wrong? Things like that. Can you show us cracks over your doors, doors sticking? You have any musty smells, things like that? And then we'll suit up and climb under there and take a lot of pictures, look around, crawl every inch of the crawl space, looking around for signs of problems, either that they told us or things they sometimes don't have a clue about.
Right.
So we'll look at everything thoroughly. The pictures then are helpful when we show the homeowner, this is right under your feet. It's right here in this bedroom area, or it's your living room. And then bathrooms are notoriously worse because you got the moisture from above, and then if you've got moisture underneath. So we'll do a very thorough inspection like that, and then sit down with them and explain to them, kind of educate them through the processes of the problems and then the solutions for it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's information is key. It's funny when you discover the what was causing a problem. It's to me it's empowering, man. It's like and then now you have information and and you have a path forward. So, and even if it's maybe not news you wanted to hear, it's always better to know the truth and to have a game plan. And I would assume too, there's probably situations where people, maybe you have to do a solution in steps, right? Maybe there's a step one and
possibly
step two or something like that.
Depends on what kind of problems going on, in the house and stuff like that. It depends on what somebody needs done. And, a lot of times, they may need an encapsulation to solve the moisture problem, and then they may need some jacks floor supports, we call those, to go, throughout the house, and maybe they can't afford to do it all. So we'll do one or the other in steps.
Okay. So get in touch with Groundworks. I've got the number right here, Kurt, 901-459-2290, or go to groundworks.com and book your free inspection today. So, hey, Kurt, this is going to be fun, man, and we're glad to have you here for this. When we come back in our Great Moments in Building History, talk about a foundation repair, we're going to talk about saving the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Ow! Those gears down there really hurt.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com, our pal Max over there behind the glass, and in the house, our friend Kurt Weir, who from Groundworks, who is here. They announced that coming up September 17th, there's going to be a really fun grand opening, we're calling this, kind of a party over at the Groundworks facility at 1160 East State Line Road from 11 to 1. Not a lot of long run time there, Kurt. I guess you guys got to get back to work, right?
I guess that's what it is. Actually, it says 12 to 1 on the thing.
12, what did I say? Oh, 12 to 1.
But, I think there'll be some stuff going on prior and afterwards. Those that's probably like I said, the pomp and circumstance and the ribbon cutting and
So Matt Malone's going to fly in a helicopter, drop down, cut the ribbon, shake hands, kiss babies, and then fly off. Is that kind of what's going on?
Who knows? I'll let you know afterwards. Or if you're there, you just show up and you'll know.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. But if you have any questions about your foundation or any comments, get in touch at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. But, Kurt, we've been excited about getting into this next discussion here.
And now, great moments in building history.
Well, Allan, it's funny, looking at my notes, I thought we talked about this like 6 months ago. It was actually over 3 years ago.
It was a while back, man.
But we're talking, Kurt, what better project to talk about than the ultimate foundation repair, which is the restoring the Leaning Tower of Pisa and keeping it from falling over.
And I just have to say as a preface, what's interesting about the location is it's called the Piazza dei Miracoli, which means it's the Square of Miracles.
I don't doubt it, because the fact that any of these things are still standing is pretty, because the cathedral is tilting too, Max. I mean, everything's tilting over there. So, well, maybe, okay, Kurt, I was asking you earlier where, if you could build your own house, how you would build it. Well, the word Pisa is a Greek word that means marshy land. Okay, there's a big swing and a miss. You're going to build an 8-story tower and a cathedral this soil is not good right now, huh?
Well, all right, let's look through history and... All right, well, I tell you what, let's pick on the story of two cities, okay. Memphis versus Nashville.
Yeah,
we're not that far apart.
Yeah,
we're not that far apart. We're a couple hundred miles from each other. We're in the same state. We might as well be in different universes.
In terms of the soil?
We are at the top of the delta. We have clay soil. It retains water. It is goopy, sticky. It is deep.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at the bottom of a fault line.
Yeah.
Yay. Let's go to Nashville. Nashville, you can't dig down about 2 feet.
Right.
And you are on rock.
Now, if you're building a tower, it's probably a better location.
You use what you got where you're at.
Well, for
let's go back 860 years ago.
Yep.
When some poor engineer got told, oh, yeah, you see all this swamp right here? This is going to be our religious complex. Get started.
Yeah, it's nice there. And part of it was a status thing. It's like, okay, so they had this because at that point in history, they were prospering and they wanted to show off. And if you look at the craftsmanship and the detail in the Leaning Tower of Pisa, it is nice. But they were going to build an 8-story bell tower to complement the cathedral right there. Well, so they built the first 2 stories. And then war broke out.
Right.
And the project was interrupted for about 100 years.
Correct.
Well, here's what I can't figure out. And Kurt, I don't know if you were aware of this, but so basically they built the first 2 2 stories, and it started leaning. And at that point, why wouldn't you stop or maybe shore it up? And then they didn't shore up the foundation. Instead, what they did is they started to build at an angle. Like they start. If you look, the Leaning Tower of Pisa is actually banana shaped. They started to compensate by trying to make the columns on the leaning side longer. But then, Allan, all that did is it added more weight because those columns are heavier. Oh, whoever was in charge, the contractor was probably hung. I mean,
I say, Joe, you've never worked for a large corporation, have you?
But this is multi-year. We're talking. It started in 1173. It was completed almost 200 years later in 1372. But Allan, all along the way, they were making all of these calculations, and it started with a bad foundation. Kurt, I mean. There you go.
It's biblical, right? You got to have a solid foundation, and those folks there. I look at that, and I don't know a lot about that. I've never been there yet, but it is that it makes me wonder. Like what the heck was going through someone's mind? If they just saying 2 stories, it's leaning on marsh ground. Well, let's keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, man.
And here's something else to think about, too, because, actually, Kurt, I did go there as a kid, and when I was 9, I was there. We're talking the 70s, and there was no safety. There were 2 little rails. It was in a 4-degree pitch doesn't sound like a lot, but you felt like at any moment you were going to fall off. It was really uncomfortable. But back in the 90s, it started to tilt. I think it got to 5.5 degrees. And to visualize this, this is only 8 stories tall. And if you were to take like a plumb bob and hang it from the edge, that's 15 feet it was hanging out.
Yes.
I was just thinking, imagine being in the Clark Tower and it's hanging out like 75 feet or something. You know what I mean?
What I can't imagine
it's
is
nuts.
That thing leaning, and they were worried about it falling, because every picture I see of that, somebody's holding it up.
Oh, yeah. But, Kurt, I'm curious, if they called Groundworks to fix this solution, how would you start? Because, I mean, this is, talk about a challenge,
To me, it honestly, technology is different, right? But like helical piers, we use helical piers in ground that's really soft, because we can get down below that and get to load-bearing strata, or bedrock, or load-bearing strata. And that, to me, I don't know. That sounds like the way to fix it to me.
What are those? What are helical piers?
It's a huge steel galvanized screw, basically, a big helical that we mechanically screw into the ground, and that's what holds that. So it's a stilt, basically. So you take the load off the ground and you put it on the load-bearing strata, and then your structure is setting on those stilts, if you will.
Okay, that sounds but how do you get under there? Because once you start digging, now it's going to sink even further. Sounds really complicated.
I mean, so if I should have brought my iPad with me to show you the videos, right? But I didn't know I was going to have to say you something this morning. But,
there you go.
No, the just a big driver, a big excavator type driver that screws this helical into the ground, and then a bracket is put onto that tube, if you will, trying to describe this on the radio, right? And then that bracket is swung around and it goes under the footing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So picture, if you will, a giant mechanical post hole digger.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
That big turny thing that they use to put like a telephone pole in the ground.
Right.
But make it even bigger.
Those. Well, they're about that size.
Yeah, but they could be longer. Again, being from Texas, also having a coastline. Yeah. I've been involved in coastal projects.
Oh, my.
Where literally the beach will leave you. Right. So you may have to drive one of those babies 18 to 24 feet into the ground to get something that you can grip so that you can build your structure above that.
Yeah.
Well, what they did, Kurt, is they tried several methods. They tried a few different things, and eventually they came to this idea of taking weights, and I want to say it was like 70 tons of, I guess it's just lead, these giant weights that they stacked.
870 tons.
Oh, 870 tons.
Yes, we're moving an 8-story stone building, Joe.
Well, that's what I was going to say, too. There's no flexibility in this. This isn't like there's no wood in here, as far as I know. I mean, there's very little.
Yeah, we're moving a rigid object.
And
is bent.
And centuries old, that is bent and is lopsided. Really, like I said, it's shaped like a banana.
It's bent to start with,
And so that I think that was more along the lines to just sort of hold it steady while they worked
did
on
that
the
on the
solution.
north side while they excavated underneath it. And what they ended up doing was excavating out an amazing amount of soil. It was like 38 cubic meters.
Right.
Now, to give you guys an idea, because Americans don't do meters well, that is about 38 dump trucks.
Yeah.
Of soil, just to kind of give you a little scope. So they removed that much soil and basically let it ease back into the void with the counterweights.
We should say they dug the soil out of the end that was sticking up so that it could sink down and be pushed.
Right. So as it fell back into the void, it eased back to just around its 4% lean.
Because they didn't want even 4%.
They didn't want to straighten it all the way out because nobody wants to see the bent Tower of Pisa.
Banana tower.
Everybody wants to see the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Right.
So right now they've counterweighted it, they've steel posted it, and they've excavated the earth, and they've brought it to a point where it is structurally sound again. And they're predicting this is good for about 200 years.
Yeah, that's what I just read too.
Yeah. I mean, and, hopefully, and then who knows what technology will bring between now and then that they'll
just put an anti-grav in the bell tower in 200 years and just straighten it up.
So I guess there is a life lesson there, though. The ironic thing is, though, they said that 100-year war might have been what saved it, because as everybody's out fighting and killing each other, this building was compressing the ground and stabilizing it a little bit.
Ironically, this is just a brief aside, but I wanted to share a story of how war could have not saved the Leaning Tower when we come back.
Okay, all right. Well, there's a rich history here, and with the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and we're going to continue when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Why does no one visit me in my home?
'Cause your apartment smells like polygrip and cat pee.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, everybody. I mean, clean air is important, for a guest. Anyway, I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. Our pal Max over there behind the glass, and in the house, our friend Kurt Weir from Groundworks, who is here in the middle of a discussion. It's too bad Groundworks couldn't get in on this restoration project. We're talking about the ultimate foundation repair job, which was stabilizing the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which we should say, this happened back in the 90s. They closed the Leaning Tower for about 10 years because, I was there in the 70s. You could go up to the tower. Then they eventually determined it was tilting too much. It got to a 5.5 degree tilt, which to me just, when you look at the pictures, it's insane that this thing is still standing. But Kurt, we were talking about the different processes they use, which basically came to, they took 870 tons of weights on the high end and then slowly dug away and let it settle down back. I suppose in theory, Allan, they could have maybe brought it to a 3 degree tilt or something, right? I mean, they probably, but eventually if you make it straight, then nobody cares. And actually, if they did straighten it, they would find that there's a curve in the Leaning Tower.
Well, like I said, nobody wants to see the bent tower. Everybody wants to see the Leaning Tower. So somewhere in the high 3s to 4s where they wound up. I think the actual, somebody can fact check me on this, the figure that leaps to my brain was 3.97 degrees.
That's what I saw too.
Right.
Was the, I remembered that. Oh my goodness.
And
well, it was because they were trying to get it to where, because of the bend, straightening the tower actually isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
The tower was built to be bent.
Right.
So
well, not by design, but this was just by
by design because out of necessity
it was
leaning.
Yeah.
But now if we were to straighten it all the way up, it's still bent.
Right.
So
the Leaning Tower of Pisa really is a beautiful construction, and ironically, it only took 20 years of actual building, labor time, but it took almost 200 years because of all the wars. But
speaking of wars, I wanted to give an interesting story.
Okay.
So during World War II, the Allies had actually suspected that the Germans were using the tower as an observation post, and a man by the name of Leon Weckstein, who was an army sergeant, was sent to confirm the presence of the troops in the towers. But he was so impressed by the beauty of the cathedral and like the tower itself that he decided to refrain from ordering an artillery strike and spare it from destruction, because all he had to say were 6 words and it would have been gone. This is Able George 1 fire.
Wow. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad. But I mean, luckily it was saved. And actually, people are going up there today. So, hey, Kurt, you said you'd like to go to Italy. Have you been to Europe or?
I've been to Barcelona.
Okay.
And flew through England, but I spent a week in Barcelona, and it was very nice to see buildings that were thousands of years old, not just a couple hundred years old like we have here.
And then Anthony Gaudi's work over there too.
There's a lot.
That's the one I was going to mention was Gaudi's work in Barcelona. Look up La Sagrada Familia, which is the Sacred Family Church, that they still are working on that like almost 200 years later. They don't want to finish it, is what I was told when I was there, because if it's finished, then it becomes more of a church than more of a tourist thing, or something weird like that. But, it looks like a melting candle is what it looks like when you look at it up close.
I think we did that on.
We've talked about that one here before.
Yeah, but if you're, kind of back to me, if your house looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, call Groundworks.
You probably don't need it. Yeah. Well,
call now.
Don't wait till it starts to lean that much, though.
We've seen that actually chimneys are a good indication, right? Because if we're, circling back to home improvement, your chimney is not supposed to lean or pop.
No,
what are some indications that maybe your chimney's starting to tilt or
separation where the chimney meets the house? And what's funny is that homeowners, and like I said before, you only know what you know. And I fixed that last time. Well, fix it was they put some caulk in there, or they put some, the expanding foam that continues to expand, things like that homeowners do. But chimneys it's not super common, but it does happen quite often that a chimney will start to fall away from the house, and we would pier that and try to push that back towards the house.
Not unlike what they did for the Leaning Tower of Pisa, honestly, right? I mean, you're kind of jacked. Well, although they did it in reverse, they got rid of soil to do it, but a tower is a unique thing.
That one, I did not know all that stuff about the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and the technology that we have now was not so readily available then. Mm-hmm. I think it would be done differently now.
Really? So what do you think would happen?
I think it would be, like I said earlier, helical piers or something like that on that side that would be on the low side. I don't know what you said, the side that underneath it, if you will, as it's leaning towards you, to try to push that back up and stabilize it. And I mean, but I think to correct it, though, you probably would have to excavate on the backside like that.
It's funny you said that, Kurt, because I was looking, so if I use YouTube a lot for these, these great moments in building history, and there's like thousands of videos all about this, so you have to just pick one. But there was one that had they showed like a diagram of a cutaway of underground, and I thought they had some sort of something like what you're talking about. Maybe they used a combination of both.
You drive by and they're building a new overpass or something, like you're hearing that big hammer, boom, 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 punching stuff down in the ground. They're trying to get down to something solid to build another foundation underneath that, basically. And they didn't have that technology when that was built, for sure.
And I got another question about this, Allan, and maybe because we're always singing the praises of Roman concrete. Boy, the Roman Empire was built on Roman concrete, which is why a lot of that stuff is still standing today, which is basically self-repairing, self-healing concrete. But how much concrete was in the Leaning Tower? Because the surface of it looks like it's a lot of marble and stone. And
there's very little. It is pretty much a stone construction. It is a masonry work as opposed to a road work.
That's interesting.
So the way that they fit things together becomes astounding sometimes. We talk about the miracle of Legos and the science of fitting pieces together has been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And it's really that well built.
And I want to say Norman Rockwell, too, mentioned an interesting effort that they tried to do in order to save the Leaning Tower. it has to go down to even like the soil itself with its flaws. They said at one point they tried to run a pipe network through the ground with chemicals to try to solidify the soil beneath it.
Oh, now that's interesting.
And you know it's...
But then I could, like super glue, like when you put super glue on styrofoam, it turns it into like, but then again, that may erode or I don't know. That's...
And you know what's kind of interesting is there are copycats a little bit after the tower was constructed, and they all came from Germany in the 14th and 15th century. There was a place called the Leaning Tower of Schurhausen and the Oberkirch in the town of Bad Frankenhausen.
Really?
It's a Dollar General now.
Isn't that something? And if you drive through Texas, I saw this. There's a leaning water tower. I can't remember, what the town is, or if it looks like they did it on purpose. So, but I don't know. That's it. Nobody's going to copy the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's a singular construction.
Well, and part of what made it so strong was any of the internal cavities, they filled that up with crushed limestone.
Okay, so that's pretty solid. That's
what it does is it kind of locks things in place like we would today.
Yeah.
With locking a riverbank in place.
Okay, there you go. Hey, you guys, before we get out of here, just one more time, if you're just tuning in, we want to remind you to head over. You can go to the grand opening of Groundworks September 17th at 1160 East State Line Road from noon to 1. It's a short thing, but the owner, Matt Malone, is going to be there. And,
it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be fun. If you got to get in touch with Groundworks, give them a call at 901-459-2290 or go to groundworks.com to book your free inspection today. Guys, we got to get out of here. The clock is ticking. So on behalf of my buddy, Allan Gilbreth, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, and our friend Kurt Weir from Groundworks, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.